today we got to play Rock Hard 1977. Now, this was one of the hotness at Gen Con this year, and we were super lucky to actually get a copy of it. I did have to stand in line for a bit of time. Randy tried twice. I stayed in line for 2 hours. We finally achieved successfulness. Oh, but before we get into it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, because board games are amazing, and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, Randy, can you tell us a little bit more about Rock Hard?
So, Rock Hard 1977 is a 2024 release. Has a Board Game Geek rating currently of 7.7 and a rank of 93.59. 2 to 5 player game, average length of 45 to 90 minutes, age 14 and up. It's designed by Jackie Fox, who was originally one of the Runaways, performed with Joan Jett back in the 70s, so she would definitely know about the lifestyle of the rock industry. Art is by Jennifer Giner, I'm going to say. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Published by Devir. It's a worker placement, set collection, end-game bonus, and variable player powers, all mechanics in this game. Geek Market's currently got a copy like new for sale for $100. It's still a pre-order that's coming out end of August is what it's projected as. MSRP for this is $49.99, so the like new copy is twice the price of it. I would wait until the end of August. Currently the cheapest prices are $39.99, and that's pretty much across the board at every site. Card House, Miniature Market, Boardlandia.
Will they be offering the promos with that? Because
No.
there was one promo.
There was a
Gen Con.
promo for Jackie Fox as a character. That was a Gen Con exclusive. I don't think it'll be included in any of the retail.
Do you think they'll be selling it at actual Devir games when they?
Probably on Devir's website, you could probably still order it and get the promo. Now, a lot of people got it autographed because Jackie Fox was actually there at Devir's booth.
Yeah, but her last day to sign was Fridays, so we actually, when we picked up the game on Saturday, she wasn't there. So that was kind of really sad that we didn't get to get a signed copy.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, anyway, so let's move on to quality of components. Paper money. Although it's nice linen paper money.
It is nice paper money, but it's still paper money.
I mean, but like I said, it is a linen.
We didn't play with it. We used the
I'm just
poker
afraid
chips.
It's going to get destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool how they did it. It looks very much like a standard dollar bill, but just enough difference that you're not going to mix it up, because I'm always nervous. We ordered some play money from Amazon that was actually used for movies, and it's a little too close to real.
Right. We use it for rewarding kids during the holidays.
Yeah, I'm still afraid it's going to get mixed up and accidentally counterfeit. It does specifically say it's for movie only, so it's not designed for. It's got on there something to market, but it still makes me nervous.
Yeah.
This would not bother me because there's a big one where the president's face would be, so it's clearly not real money. The board is nice. It's got a finish to it as well.
Card quality does have a light linen finish. Yeah. Pretty decent. You do have some cardboard candy.
Yeah. Really, the coolest part of this whole game are these amps. So these are your player boards. You've got knobs on it. They really went all out. They made it go up to 11. So they're fans of Spinal Tap, obviously. But yeah, that's really cool that they took that little bit. The only thing I was disappointed in is they had the serial numbers on these monies. They could have put 8675309 or even OU812 and had some rock references in there, which that would have been really awesome, but they didn't do that. But 8675309 was an obvious one that should have been in there.
But alas.
Yes, but they have the boards have where you can insert a cube for marker and
and your actual player, so that you have several players to choose from. You slide it on in, and it's pretty seamless. I think that functions really, really well. The
only part is like trying to get out this on-off switch during the game. You might have to flip it. And it takes a little effort to get if you got no fingernails.
And then the actual players are these cool standees. I think these are actually pretty cool.
They are cool. The only problem is you have to keep taking them in and out because your player color, you get random ones, and they have powers associated with them.
Well,
So
yeah.
you have to take them in and out of the stand. We've seen other games where these will crack if you put too much pressure on them. So I'm just nervous taking, anytime you have a standee, I think it should be once and done. You shouldn't be taking them in and out, but it's also going to get loose that way.
Yeah, and then your player order is actually controlled by a guitar pick, which is actually kind of cool. So overall, for quality of components, I mean, I'm okay with everything. I think it looks very 1977, like rock kind of thing, which goes a little bit more of theme. So I think for quality of components, I'm going to give it an 8. I think they did a good job.
I'm probably going to give it more of a 7, mostly because of the paper money. If it were not for the paper money...
If the paper money wasn't actual linen paper, I would agree with you, but they did try to make it a nicer paper.
I'll go 7.5. The paper money really bothers me. Good thing is we have alternate, the poker chips. We've got the clay chips for brass. We've got our standard poker chips, so we have other options. But I don't think I would want to use.
I don't think I would want to use the paper money. But yeah, no. Moving on to theme. What did you think about the theme?
I think they did a stellar job of capturing the theme of being a struggling startup rock star. That you've got all the different aspects of what the music industry is going to require for you to get started here, and they definitely made an alternative for. I didn't realize, I should say, that there's such a high dependency on candy in the music industry. I think it's supposed to represent something else. But yeah, there's a lot of diabetics in the music industry.
There's a lot of sugar rushes and a lot of sugar crashes.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to represent something else, but either way, it was a fun little thing that they added.
Yeah, and I will say, I think I only used the candy twice. Didn't go into cravings, but I lost pretty badly.
And Caleb, who went candy crazy, ended up dominating, because basically the candy in the game represents extra actions.
So I think it is necessary to use them. But you want to be careful because you could end up losing terms and to recover. But I mean, obviously he did it well, so it worked out for him. But I'm just not going to do candy doesn't work out.
Yeah. I was the one that ended up first in Betty Ford Clinic, even though Caleb was going candy crazy. So we'll say that.
Right. But there is a bit of a rolling aspect to whether you end up with a diabetic situation that would make you go to the recovery area. So there is a little bit of that, but it is all very thematic. Even the cards that you get, the information behind them of like things that could happen.
That was a lot of fun. Those were a lot of fun.
Yeah, so everyone seemed to have a lot of fun. Even your random gigs came up, your managers and things like that. I think they did excellent. I'm going to give this a 9 on theme, only because it's not my favorite theme in the world, but they did an excellent job doing this theme.
Yeah, I mean, I think 9's fair. I mean, the art is really well done. I mean, I like even the subtle touch. I don't know if you can see it on screen, but they printed Rock Hard in a faded background on here. The box looks really pretty from that. But you definitely get the 1970s art feel. The characters all have those look and feel of people you might see in the 1970s, or if you watch movies from that period. And the rock stars, I mean, the one on the box is very reminiscent of, like, I'd say Roger Daltrey from The Who or someone from that era. But yeah, I think they've done an outstanding job capturing the feel. The board is kind of plain. It's just action spaces. Many of them are just white, or else I'd probably go higher. And there's nothing that's going to wow you just looking at the game, except for I think these amps are really cool.
But I'll be honest, when you told me this was the hotness, I was like, why?
Yeah.
And I had seen this out, and I was just like, I don't understand. So It's not very eye-catching.
Yeah.
In that sense, or outright beautiful, but thematically, it really, really works really well.
And I think it's a fun theme because it's not something you see. It's not something that's common out there. I mean, you've got dungeon delves or a dime a dozen. You got space themes and all that. This is something unique.
Yeah, absolutely fair. Now, moving on to the actual rule book.
So the rule book is where it suffers a bit. The rule book has got a nice cover. It matches the box. So the rule book's 24 pages in length. The back page is all about Jackie Fox and her bio, which was very interesting because I didn't realize. I mean, she's got degrees. She's a gamer. She's created other games. She's on Board Game Geek Game Night, which is I didn't even know that. And to see someone who's a rock star who's turned into a gamer is really cool. The setup is actually done pretty well. It's got numbering all over it as far as showing you where things go. It's pretty easy to set it up, but there is a lot of setup. There's a lot of decks. You have to get out a certain number of cards and get them all laid out. And there's two sides to the board. That's one of the things that's a challenge. I didn't find a clear way of identifying which side was the 2 to 3 player side. So there may be some way to identify whether it's a 2 to 3 or a 4 to 5 player game on the board. I just didn't find it, but it's mostly about the spaces. But the real problem came up when we got into minutia questions. Whenever there was a ton of things left out of the rule book, even though it's 24 pages in length, about specific cards or how they play. And
well, we had a question. It didn't spell out exactly that you could use multiple candies in a turn.
That was one example, but there were several of them.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. But there's a lot of it that's, because it's new, is not detailed out on a FAQ anywhere. So you're just kind of assuming. And matter of fact, in the rule book, it says if there's ever any question, don't take it too seriously because this is rock and roll or something like that. Well, that's not a great answer for a gamer when they're trying to play the game. So, I know that some of the comments were that at the table when we were playing is this game didn't feel like it was play tested enough to get all the questions. And because there were a lot of things that came up during gameplay. And we had to stop a few times and try to go online to see if anyone had asked the same question or if there was an answer for it. And in many cases, there weren't.
And that's because it's a brand new release. So I think you ended up actually posting a question.
I haven't seen an answer yet. So.
So that's kind of good.
So we just moved on and house ruled it and moved on, in several of the cases. So. Yeah, I think that the rule book, it's laid out well, it's set up well, but it's just missing a lot of content, and I think it probably needed a little more refinement in the playtesting to make sure that every scenario was either represented, covered in it, or there was an FAQ for it. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll give the rule book a 7.5 because I think it's laid out well, but because of those holes and the fact that you had to stop gameplay and try to figure out what they were. And anytime you have to interrupt gameplay, it's not a good scenario. Yeah.
All right. So moving on to actually how do you play the game. So there are 3 phases to a round. You have the daytime phase, the kind of
afternoon,
evening, and then the nighttime.
Or the after hours.
Yeah, the after hours. So during each phase, you're going to go to one action unless you participate in some candy consuming.
Yes.
So if I were to go, if I was first player based on what the pick order was from the previous round or at the start, random picking, I would go and choose a location. Now, in the daytime, there's a couple of options. You can go to the radio station for an interview. You can get 1 reputation that way. Or you can basically hire an indie promo and you pay money to increase reputation and victory points. So there's a lot of things you do. You could hire a crew, or you can even go for that elusive record deal. Now, you can't do that on the first round because you need a demo tape, and you don't have one yet because that's after hours.
You can also do rehearsals and raise your chops.
Right, raise your chops. So, but it does cost you money to do that, to rent out the space. So, based on that, you start out with 1 money. And in this case, sure, I'll go get a chop because it's just something to do.
Yeah, I will point out that before the game starts, you're going to get an agent and a job. So this is your day job. And the day job will be assigned to a time of day. In most cases, some of them are actually you roll a die and it'll randomly change. It's like a swing shift where you work different shifts. But if your shift is up, you either have to go or you get a missed work token. And if you get 3 missed work tokens, you're fired and you can't work your job anymore.
Yeah.
So at that point, your source of income is cut off. You can quit your job at any point, but you don't want to do it too early because you're going to need a source of income.
Yeah. Also calling out is that you will have 3 different personal goals. You will end up choosing only 2 of them to play, so that can give you a little bit of direction.
3 common goals that if you can get them, whoever gets them first gets bonus
You'll
points.
also start out with life experiences. Will get you this icon here, which if you create a set of 4, you get victory points. Or if you do a one of each type, a set of 4, you'll also get additional victory points. And we'll talk about here a little bit. All right, so I would play an action. Randy would pick another action. Again, now if, for example, I do end up choosing, I'm going to spend my candy. Okay.
You have to actually decide that before you take your actions, because you take all of your actions at once for each phase.
Right. So because I went to the studio, I'm also decided to use a candy. So I'm going to draw a card. And lo and behold, I got soft candy. So I'm going to increase my craving by 1 because, sugar's addicting. And then I'm going to roll the dice. Okay. Now I am trying to get higher than my current craving. Or equal.
So the first one, you're basically guaranteed you're going to succeed.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. But I have a bonus action now of 1, which is what was said on the card. So I'm going to then decide to go to the interview to get a reputation. All right, so that is what I'm going to be doing for my turn. Then Randy would take his turn.
So because she freed up that first space, I could actually go there. I don't have to. I can only not go where she's at, which is the radio station. And there's also available up here are anytime actions that you can take. So I can go and buy or sell candy. Doesn't sound great, but you can go and redistribute candy and make money, or buy it. You can donate blood if you're desperate for just getting money. $1 you can get for donating blood.
But if you go to work, it's 2 monies.
Yeah. So if I had a daytime job, let's see what my job. I had 2 job choices. I can only pick one. You got a daytime job. Okay. I'll go to work. And any number of people go to work, whoever's the first one there will get bumped if a second person goes further down. It doesn't really matter until the after hours round. Yeah. So if I go there, I will make 2 money, so I'd get 2 more money to add to my stash. And I'm a law clerk in this case. They have some fun ones in here. I was
a sound engineer, so like when I did my demo, I didn't have to skip work to do that. So that was kind of fun. There were other ones that
I was a bartender.
Like a truck driver. You basically never missed work. You just worked when you wanted to.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. And this top row you could go at any time. So no matter the phase, you can go to this top row, which is like to write a song and things like that, which increases your song. All right, now that everyone's placed in the daytime, then you would go to the evening, which is all about concerts and gigs, okay? So certain gigs have certain requirements. They do have this here, which actually rotates, which I thought was actually really great.
That, and there's an event deck that triggers at the beginning of the turn, which is going to affect whatever, it may have a global effect or may affect certain spaces.
Yeah, like one time we all got a free candy, another time the crew was cheaper to do.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on what the event is, what the different thing is. Now, the nighttime actions, that's where I think a lot of people had a lot more fun because of the card content. So basically there are, you can go backstage and find your romance, or you can go to Jack's and get photographer, get a lot of camera action publicists. You also have Bud's, which is more business oriented, and Hoover's, which is all about partying. So if you go to a different one of these locations, you're going to be able to pick up a card. I decided I'm going to go to Hoosiers because it's a thing. All right, and then someone calls you a derogatory term. Fight them, so you get to determine, do I want to fight them or no? I am going to fight them because I'm a rowdy rock star. So I'm actually going to get 1 reputation and 1 victory point.
Yeah.
All right, so my reputation goes up, and I would get a victory point on the board.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely great.
But it also will determine where you fall in the lineup for setting turn order for the next round.
So in this case, I would be 8. Now, when Randy goes and he chooses his...
So let's say I had the things necessary. I could go over here and get a demo cut. Now, this is actually one of the spaces that we think that we had the most problem with, because once you get a demo, you're basically never going to need that space again. So, because your demo is a step to getting towards a record deal, basically. And once you've got a demo tape, you really don't ever need to go back there again. So that space didn't feel that useful, except for when everybody needed it all at once. And then, so there was a cram for that, and then nobody ever used it again.
Yeah, so that was kind of, well, and there was 2 spaces on the 4-player board, which actually seemed almost too much because, okay, there was one round we were kind of fighting over it, but not really. Yeah. And then it was done.
Yeah. The other spot that didn't make a lot of sense was the hire crew spot, because there's 2 tokens out here. You can only hire 1 per round.
But there was 5.
But we were playing with 4-player, and there were 2 spots. So do you backfill? Nowhere in the instructions did it say.
Oh, that was a problem.
Yeah.
Because there was 5 different spots. Now, in my viewpoint, like I was like, oh, well, maybe you're fighting for like whoever pays the most gets the crew at the end of the round.
Right.
But it doesn't say that.
No.
It nowhere even there. So why do you have 5 spaces for 2 crew unless you're refilling? And so,
if you're refilling, why have 2? Because you can only acquire 1 at a time.
Right. So that's where we were like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So there's a few things that just don't flow naturally.
Yeah. So I feel like we missed, like the rules were missing something right there. I think that's pretty...
Yeah, so you play the game for 9 rounds, or, which is represented by months, or if someone reaches 50 on the score chart, on the fame chart.
Which did take us by surprise. Because someone did get to 50, and we were like, oh,
and they
crap.
ran away with it.
We don't want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. It was real bad. Use your candy appropriately, that's all I gotta say. Now, what happens if we fail the craving check? So, what if I needed to use candy again, and I ended up pulling, so... whatever I got, I ended up with additional craving, and then I rolled and got it too low. What happens then? So I'm going to take this light switch over here. Randy didn't give me one.
No,
so right now,
oh,
okay, it's on the off. I would switch it on to the on button. And then the next time I did a day action, I would have to go to recovery.
Yep.
I could not spend candy to do other actions, because that kind of defeats the whole point. And,
yeah.
And that's all I can do during the day phase, which actually is not that big of a penalty.
Well, it is and it isn't, because when I used my candy to get the stats I needed to jump from 1 to 3 on the record deal, and I was going to go to the record deal. Problem is when I did that, I rolled too low, so the next turn I couldn't go to the record deal. I had to go to recovery.
Well, you wouldn't have anyway, because there were so many people after the record deal.
Well, I would have been first.
Really annoying. Well, yeah. All I've got to say is it was very difficult to get a record deal.
Because I didn't go there to take first.
Well, that was my thing is record deal was only 1, but your record demo had 2 actions, and I was like, that did not make any sense to me. Because the record deal, you can actually upgrade. Like, that spot's used a lot more. Maybe that's why it's supposed to be more lucrative. Overall, let's talk about scoring. I'll give this a 7. I think it was a decent worker placement game. There were some holes in the rules. And I did fight over getting a record deal, which ended up making me really hard to get money, which made like it very... It was kind of like at the beginning you couldn't get traction, and then at the end you were kind of stuck because this space was so tight.
Yeah, I like the fact that there's spaces where you go to try to get the set collection with the hangouts, and some of the bonuses we had were relevant to that. So I was actually running away with the score at first because I was going for those bonuses and getting them before other people. But I did it at the sacrifice of making money. So in the end, that came back to bite me later on because Caleb and,
you got stuck.
And Sean kind of moved up the ladder and I got stuck. But
then Andrew ran away guys, Andrew almost lapped us.
He did lap Sean.
He did. Okay. So, so for me, it was kind of like, holy cow, such a big difference. And it was all because, and I know mostly was around the candy usage, which thematically, I don't know what you think about that in your personal life. That is between you and yourself. Maybe you're a medical professional. But, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That part I didn't necessarily... It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
As far as gameplay, though, it feels to me a lot like base viticulture if you don't have Tuscany added. But I like this theme better for what it is, because I'm into the rock music, and I'm not into candy, but I definitely am not into winemaking. And
I'm not either.
But this one has some interesting stories in the cards and such, whereas viticulture, to me, base viticulture is very dry.
See, I don't play base viticulture.
I know. Once you're at Tuscany makes it a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a 7.5. I don't think it's outstanding, but I think it's a good worker placement game, and I think there is enough competition for spaces. I think there's some holes that should have been filled in the rules, as you mentioned, and I also think that some of the spaces you need them for once and then they're done, and then why not have some more functionality from that?
Right, like record a demo or something else.
Yeah,
like this having maybe another function would make more sense than what it's currently doing. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll catch you guys later. Bye.